All right, welcome back everybody to Cool's Reviews. Much like last week, we're checking out another Chad Kalick film. We got one more after this, and we've watched his entire filmography, minus, I guess, TV series, but obviously there's a lot more to those than just a 2 hour movie. So we're going to wait off to do those till a little bit later. So today we're checking out A Blood Red Sky. It's a 2015 documentary, not to be confused with the other Blood Red Sky that is much easily, like, I guess, confused. Like, if you search a Blood Red Sky, you'll probably find it. I don't know exactly what that one is about. Looks like perhaps zombies on an airplane or something. But like I said, this is Blood Red Sky 2015 by Chad Kalick. Also has like Justin Holstein, who you probably have seen if you've watched his other films, as well as Mary Beth Wiley. There's also Joe Ansley in here, and then Karen O'Keefe from Most Haunted. So I will try to set my feelings aside for Most Haunted. Kind of want to know like what happened to Joe. Like, did he go crazy after this? He's been in two, American Ghost Hunter and A Blood Red Sky. Oh no, he's in 74 minutes, but I guess that's because it's probably retroactively looking at probably what we'll talk about here. But yeah, as usual, my name's Keegan. Joining me today is
Sam.
so this one, I guess, much in line with the first film, is about paranormal mainly. Much like any of Chad's films, it's about one thing, but there is other things that I think he wants to talk about throughout the film, and you see hints of that at the beginning and then at the end of this one. Climate change again is one that was brought up. There's a whole. To be fair, I thought this was more about like the Mayan prophecy, especially how it started. Did not end up being about the Mayan prophecy outside like the brief beginning. Sam, do you want to kind of describe what happens in Bright Red Sky, Blood Red Sky, not a bright red sky?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I'll take over. From like the beginning up until close to the end, it was kind of confusing on what exactly was happening. Because, like Keegan was mentioning, that it was about like the Mayan calendar at like first and like 2012 and like all the crazy events that were kind of like playing out at that point. Then it became about investigating at Chillingham Castle, or what we assumed was investigating, but then it
Mhm.
became like a more of like a social experiment, I guess, and for better lack of terms. So like Chad was kind of like the control like part of the experiment. So like he was going in to like ghost hunt the castle, and then like everybody was like it was just like him alone in this like area just investigating. Like nobody else was there. It was just him and the camera and using the camera as light. Like a normal investigation. I mean, you kind of spend time by yourself with like a camera and all that. I guess he was kind of like the control, because then Mary Beth, who went in, was like, I don't know if it was nerves or something, or like she was kind of up all night, or she was asked to be up all night. I don't know if I missed that, and maybe she was asked to just be sleep deprived, or she just did it willingly.
No, she was asked.
Yeah, I kind of, there's parts that I kind of missed because like I was just trying to figure out what was happening, because I was kind of like confused by a lot that was going on. She was asked, like Keegan said, she was asked to stay up all night and kind of be sleep deprived for her part of the experiment. Wait, John was the last one? Oh,
Joe.
it's Justin. Justin was next, and then Joe. So then Justin, his was to be like audio like overload. So he was listening to a lot of like loud sounds and weird videos. Like if his was like an audio overload, I'm not sure why those like videos were there. But he was doing his was like with a lot of like loud sounds and stuff in there. And so that was his part of it. And then Joe's was a mind altering one. So he was kind of against psychedelics. It may or may not be a smart thing to do, because like you would probably connect with something or have a like a better like visual of them. But he was doing like narcotics and I think an upper.
Something. I mean, it just when I go into mine, we'll talk about it more. But then they're just like not allowed lights or really any communication. So The first two kind of seem harmless. I mean, sleep deprivation can be deadly, so don't do it. But the third one, yeah, no, there's definitely was some blowback on that one.
I mean, yeah, by like the dude that was like brought there to kind of like observe the experiment, and like they said he was a medical professional as well, so just in case something went wrong, there would be like somebody there for it that can at least do like some minor stuff while like probably they get like somebody out there to like take him to the hospital or something. Yeah, so Joe was doing like a narcotic experiment, and then kind of basically at the end, it was basically kind of explaining. Um, well, the doctor guy was explaining like how each person, when like each person was in there, they were kind of focused on what they were kind of going through, like that mental state. So like the control when Chad was in there, they were ghost hunting, and so like when stuff would move and happen, um, they're all just like, "What was that? Do you think it's like the ghost of this or like this stuff, like the history of it?" When Mary Beth was in there, they were just like, she was very sleep deprived, so they were just like, they were more focused on like the bed or like kind of like watching out for her just to like for the signs of like sleep deprivation and such. When Justin was in there, he was like hearing sounds of stuff, and like they were kind of like hearing sounds and like doors were moving and such. So like it was, and then like when Joe was in there, I don't know, they were in a, like a different like ever. It was like super calm and like happy almost, just because like he was being calm and like had some revelation in it. So it was like it was kind of like an experiment to where it was like if a good majority of like essentially what it's kind of explaining is like if a good majority of the world is like feeling something, the rest of the world kind of feels that too, because like that's kind of known where like people know about something before it's even like on the news. It's kind of like you can like feel it in like the energy of like the planet and how like the, I want to say ley lines just because I played Magic, but like how their energy flows through the world. Like if something catastrophic happens, like everybody is like kind of like worried and everything kind of feels off. So it was kind of an interesting experience. There was lots of parts throughout it that you were just like, dude, what is happening? Like, does he hate like these like this guy specifically, or like his team, or like what is he doing? But then in the end, it kind of makes sense because you can't really like you could explain it if you were like off to the side, but like it wouldn't have like I feel like they may have picked up on it maybe. I don't know. It was an interesting video, but like it was not too terribly bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely probably one of his better ones, I would say. Definitely better than the last two we've watched, at least. That's for sure. The ghost hunting portion got better, a lot better, at least with Chad. It had evolved since we had seen it in American Ghost Hunter. So I mean, appreciative of that. I mean, it seemed more like a ghost hunting video instead of like he was interviewing a 2x4. Like Sam said, it definitely seemed, and even now, even since watching it, it still seems like he does not like he had something against Joe, like, because he picks on him hard, like hard, intentionally, like even like just in his like voiceovers, he like picks on the beginning. He's a Mayan prophecy, then he's giving you all these things that happen in, what do you say, 12 or 20, he might have said 24-month time span, leading up, which I mean you can take any 24 months and the human mind will connect and find patterns, and I kind of feel like that's what that was doing. um,
Mhm.
but yeah, and then they go to a what's talked to be as one of the most haunted places in the world, for an experiment. But yeah, for me, like I think it would have been better if this is like where they were headed, like as far as the experiment, to do it in a place that's not haunted and test it that way. Because if you're going into a haunted location, it don't matter if like what they're doing, they already know that backstory, you know? Like
I
if you
mean,
go to a
true.
place that's not haunted and then they're like experiencing stuff, or if you give them like false histories and they're experiencing stuff, then you know. Um,
Well, no, I think it was more because it was tying into that, like the 2012 thing, like that, like kind of initial fear factor. So you go to a haunted place that like you kind of have like a fear for it, or like you're prepared for something like that, and it's like that, like kind of already like fear of what potentially could be happening there and whatnot. And so that's why they chose to do it there, is what I'm assuming. Because that would kind of make sense because like there was people that feared like the whole 2012, the apocalypse, the supposed apocalypse, or like the new beginning as it's kind of more come to.
oh yeah, I mean, especially since we've been around, every couple of years there's a new apocalypse happening.
I
We
mean,
hear it
but
all the
that's
time.
significant as like the 2012 one was supposedly.
Well, 2012 was significant to like us, but there's been other bigger ones. 2011, 1999, 2010 had one. There's supposed to be one in 2020. Nibiru was supposed to crash into us in like 2020 something. Um, so I mean, there's lots of like uh, of these events, and I mean, I get the experiment portion, like wanting to see how different things affect people.
Mhm.
Lack of sleep, you could definitely see having like less nerves or something. As far as Justin, where he like listened to things and audio, but he didn't like go investigate. If I like, he just sat in that room listening to these like over like all the sound and watching this video.
Went up to the tower where like everybody else investigated as well, and then went and sat there.
Did he? I guess I just didn't. I guess I didn't connect that part, but
Yeah, no, because like that's when he was individually talking to those people. He was sitting up there, and then like he hears a noise, and when he heard the noise, like they heard that like other noise happen as well.
yeah. And then the third one was probably the one that I think a lot of people probably would draw the line at as far as drugging somebody.
Well, he asked him to do it, and he kind of like agreed to it. So it's not he didn't really drug him.
But what he told him he was giving him, he ended up giving him something stronger. And then he was going to go lie to him. Said he was going to give him something even stronger. He ended up not to because he was already like
Freaking out.
paranoid at that point. And even the other team members were like, "No, this is too much. Like you're going to get him hurt." And like I agree with that. Like it's one thing like to test like a placebo by being like, "Hey, my back hurts," and giving them like a sugar pill instead of aspirin and testing it that way, instead of giving them like an actual narcotic and being like, "No, it's not. Just a muscle relaxer, you're fine."
Well, he gave him a narcotic and a muscle relaxer. He gave him both.
Right. And then he was like, "Okay, you don't have lights. You got to go climb the stairs." Like it seems very very dangerous.
Well, I think he takes them up there with like a light and everything, and then from there, they're just have the camera light because he walks each of them up to that spot. Besides Justin, I think Justin was like the only one that didn't actually get like walked all the way up to the actual location because he had to do that like that video thing first, and then he went up there. But everybody else, they walked up to that location and then like left them.
Yeah, I mean, I do to a point get the tests, but like I said, it just that one does seem a little across the line. Like something I wouldn't do to you guys just cuz like if you have something and you do like see something that maybe just a hallucination, right? Uh and it's not actually a ghost and you freak out and you get hurt, like that's even like the guy from Most Haunted was like, "I'm only okay watching this if you take responsibility for whatever happens." Like
No,
even that
he
guy
did.
was like, no.
No, and, like he said that he was just like, I'm not having you here to be like for like responsibility. He's just like, if he gets injured, like it's on me. It's not on you. Like he does take responsibility for it, but like it was just like it was a part of the test. Like I see it being wrong, but he asked him if he would do it, and he agreed to it. So it's not like super inhumane or like weird because like he did agree to it. Like if you would ask me to do it, I probably would say yes too. But like it wouldn't be on you. It'd be like if I injured myself, it would be kind of on me opposed from anybody else.
Well, it would be on me because I would have to tell you, hey, and it would be in the context, like, say, just like Joe, right? That's his name, Joe. They said Joe doesn't do any type of drugs or anything like that. So this is his first like experience with anything like that. And so it'd
I
be like
mean,
me being
that's
like,
not
hey,
necessarily
here's a
true because
sugar pill, and then here's like it was actually an edible.
true, but like at the same time, you can't say you've never done any drugs because pharmacy prescriptions are basically drugs. I'm guaranteed he's probably done some prescriptions for something at one point. So he has done drugs
Yeah, but it's
because, like,
different than like hallucinogens and stuff like that.
yeah, but he wasn't given hallucinogens. You missed that like whole part. Like he wasn't actually given hallucinogens. He
Oh
was given
no,
narcotics and a
it's
muscle relaxer. There
yeah,
was no hallucinogens
he was given
involved.
a narcotic, but
Yeah,
still,
yeah, but you're wrapping up on the part that he was just gonna tell him, like he was just gonna get him into that fear of he potentially took hallucinogens, but then he didn't end up doing that. It was just narcotics. It was just prescription drugs. It was basically stuff that you would get if you got like a broken bone or something. They would give you some narcotics and muscle relaxers. Is basically what he was taking. He was taking prescription drugs. He was gonna joke him into the hallucinogen, but he wasn't actually taking hallucinogens.
no, but still, like off narcotics, you can have some pretty
Yeah,
weird side effects.
because they probably put hallucinogens in those pills, but they just don't tell you about it.
Like, I mean, or they can give you bad thoughts. I mean, I know there's certain prescriptions that I can't take. And so that's
Mhm.
where I was like, I don't know. Even the team members were like against it. And I was like, yeah, no, it's just, especially how he's talking about him the entire episode, where he's just like, he has no idea what I'm getting him into. Or he's like bad mouthing like how scared he is to like the audience. No one else is listening to this. He's just filming him and bad mouthing how scared he is. Like, and I was like, man, this just, I mean, I guess you're trying to get the audience into a certain perspective, but still, like, it just I don't know, it was odd.
No, I
Um,
mean I definitely agree.
yeah, like it's definitely not something like I wouldn't do. Like I know like government does it a lot where they like pretend to give you something. Like you go in a test, you know you're gonna get tested, which is a little bit different than this, but they'll give you like I said, sugar pill instead of aspirin, or and then the other side actually gets aspirin, then they compare. Uh, but still, that's a little bit different. And it seemed because he was talking how he couldn't like feel his lips and stuff, which seems like a reaction to whatever he had.
Well, that would be the muscle relaxers. I've taken those, so I know that that kind of happens. Your body just, it's not, you feel it, but you don't feel it. It's like an intense, like pain relief. And it makes your, like, your whole body just like super relaxed.
Yeah, but I don't know. For me, that was the one I was like, I mean, I kind of felt bad for him, especially because he seemed like the most like logical. When Chad was kind of like explaining what he wanted to do, he was like, "No, someone's gonna get hurt." And that's like the number one thing I think I always look at is like when we go somewhere is like, okay, what's like the safety precautions, you know? We gotta be safe. And why did you do that? I kicked
Safety
someone out of the group
precautions.
because they try to get our group murdered because they didn't do their research.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah, like safety is always key. And like, I don't know. I mean, granted, it could all be fake, honestly. It we don't 100% know with Chad. Uh, but like we're taking off the guys that it's like all real.
Mhm.
And then, like Sam said, the most haunted guys there also kind of like a control, where he's just an outside observation, where he's like called the skeptic. It's been a while since I've watched Most Haunted, so I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember him too well. There was one episode that like stands out to me, but that's for different reasons. But um, it's just saying how what he perceived from the whole thing, and he's the one that talks at the end and kind of explains to the people that just lived the event why they lived the event the way they lived it. So at the end of the day, the I mean, it kind of loosely ties in. I would say it ties in better than part three of the Sir No Face to part one of Sir No Face. Well, just like kind of wrapping up the story, I think it wraps it up better than the Sir No Face trilogy did, where it like felt completely opposite. At least this one felt pretty streamlined the whole time.
Yeah,
Like at the
like this
beginning,
one had like a whole purpose, and it like did that whole purpose.
yeah, like at the beginning, we weren't quite sure where it was going, but then they got to the castle. They were ghost hunting. Then he wanted to test different psychological effects on him. So it was pretty straightforward. As far as the ghost hunting, like I said, it looks better than American Ghost Hunter, I would say.
Mhm.
It's less shaky too. The camera throughout's much less shaky than American Ghost Hunter. I don't, Sam, did you feel dizzy or like sick at all from watching it like you did last time?
Nah.
Yeah. See, it was much, I think it's definitely more cinematography wise in line with the Sir No Face trilogy. Like you can see where he has kind of found his like niche and how
Mhm.
he's going to film. So at least it's not like American Ghost Hunter because like that would be rough.
Mhm.
It and like I said, this one's honestly pretty straightforward. It's not too crazy. They don't really capture anything. There's a couple like maybe things. There's one where he like stands up and then like 5 seconds later he said like the thing on like the covering on the pew like flips up and falls off. But it's kind of out of frame. Like you do see it flip up, but it's still just kind of hard to see. So it's not like the greatest piece of evidence. And then there's a lot of just like different sounds they hear. They've cut down on like showing us knocks, which I appreciate, uh, because a lot of times it's like, who, I mean, somebody else could be making a knock. More of the time, this one, it's more like there was like what they call growling, but it just kind of sounded like heavy breathing. I'm not saying it's real. I'm just saying that's what it
I
sounded
mean,
like.
never heard heavy breathing kind of in that way.
I mean, to me, it didn't sound too much more different than if Chad like was heavy breathing.
I mean, I guess.
Um, and then they hear like a woman a couple times off, like I think there's like a doorway next to him, and it sound they keep like looking over to it, and it sounds like that's where direction wise this like woman like can't really understand what she says, but at least you can hear it's like a female voice.
I mean, it kind of sounded like it said he's not here.
Yeah,
I definitely
the
heard that.
the first time it's pretty clear, but then they get it a couple more times where it's like you know it's like something, but you can't really like
True.
pick it up.
And there's like multiple times that like doors were just opening.
Yeah, you would like hear like the one door, like I said, off to the side, which must be where the stairs are or something, I'm guessing. But it sounded like almost a rotating door or something like that. Like you'd hear it was like a really weird noise. The first time you heard it was like kind of like that.
Yeah, and then like a door screeching open, like slowly screeching open. And like there's only like the room that they were in, there's only like one door into that room. And it's that one door, and then there's like a hallway that they went down, and they heard like a door opening down like the hallway as well from where they were.
Yeah, like Sam said, it's has a crazy backstory. Like I said, places were haunted, I expect old castles to be haunted. I mean, there's so much history in them. Even if it's just residual and like somehow the rocks are trapping energy and replaying it, like it'd make a lot of sense to me. I think that's a lot of times too why you see a lot more hauntings in older parts of America because they're more stone made instead
Yeah.
of like other things. Especially in Castle Rock. If you look at Castle Rock here, well, the majority of our big haunting locations are like Rhyolite because Chamber of Commerce is Rhyolite, Old Stone Church. Um, there's the Cantrell. I mean, that's like our three big three in Castle Rock, and they're all Rhyolite. So yeah, no, I mean, I'd definitely be down. Definitely, it's not this year it would happen. Maybe a next year, year after. But I think our group would be up to go investigate this location, check it out. Even if it's just for history portion, and we don't capture nothing, I think it'd be fun.
True.
So, how do you feel watching this one compare to the others? Like rating recommendations. Yeah.
I think I would give this one like a 6. And I would recommend it because, like, yes, it was kind of strange at first, but like once you know how it is in the end, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of like makes it interesting and like opposed from any of the other ones. It's not like you're watching like some like weird like
YouTube.
something like hoaxed,
Mhm.
like a potential hoax video. This seemed like more real and like more of just like a test to just see how like, yeah, it was more of like a test or an experiment on something, on like how people would react in a specific way, and like how the whole group would react by watching them and not being able to communicate. Like, I don't know, I out of all his films, I kind of think like this is like one like his best so far, at least for me.
Yeah, no, honestly, I would agree. I'd say probably a 5 out of 10 for me, but I still think it's his probably his best one so far. We got one more left, so maybe it chalks us and maybe it pulls off the upset. But yeah, I mean, I think if someone was to hand me this or Sir No Face, I would take this. You know, like Sam said, there's really nothing to hoax, really. I mean, there's a couple like encounters that I guess they could have hoaxed as far as like, or at least just misidentified it as far as like the thing on the pew, the cover. But for the majority, whether it's a good test or not, it's a test. He set out, he stayed streamlined, he didn't try to jam pack a ton of things. So yeah, I definitely think it's his best one. So I, if I had to recommend one, I would recommend this one for sure. I think it's definitely the best one. Yeah, I'd say it's probably the best one. I had to think a little bit. I was like, yeah, yeah. Because like I said, it's just so streamlined compared to what we've seen his other films be.
Mhm.
Even American Ghost Hunter was pretty. There was still a lot kind of packed into it, but now I think it makes a lot more sense. Having watched Sir No Face, like why he props up Paranormal State and Most Haunted, because a he was in Paranormal State, he was the director as well for 34 episodes, but Most Haunted came on his show. So I mean, it makes a lot more sense why he props those two up. But then it did open me up to be like, oh, it's kind of funny, like the Australian guy Craig, who like said like the two things he watched was Most Haunted and Paranormal State. And I was like, okay,
I mean, and that could have been just like them telling him to say that.
true.
Because like if you're on like a show, they're just like, well, you'll have to like say that you watch this stuff, like most places do, or like most things do. Like even the news creator, Mr. Beast, like you can't win that money unless you're subscribed to it. Like he won't like give you money if you're not. So that's like a film kind of tactic, like where you say you watch their other stuff so that like it gives a rapport towards you, or you say that if you're like on there, like if Keegan was on there, he probably would say he watched that.
That's why I wasn't on there.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, I do remember a bit of Paranormal State. I was never a huge fan of it. I watched more of that obviously than Most Haunted, but Most Haunted was an older TV show, and it came on, or it was on during like the beginning of Taps. And to me, especially when Taps first started, I mean they're a lot different now, but when they first started, it was really kind of dry, and I think that led to the believability for Taps. Um, whether you believe it now or not, but it just seemed, especially after the Queen Mary episode, I was like, I want to watch Taps over Most Haunted. So yeah, I'd say I probably had watched more Paranormal State than Most Haunted. So if they were asked me and they're like, "What would you say?" I'd say, "Well, I watched a little bit of Paranormal State."
Yeah, and then they would probably cut it out to make it seem like you watched it.
We've been on TV before, so I do know how this process works. You are right, 100%. They cut people completely out of our story who recorded that day. Weren't even shown. They pretend like they didn't even show up. Chad, I don't know how you feel about our document or our reviews of your documentaries, but hey, I think you got a decently positive one from us with this one. Me and Sam are pretty much on the same page. We both think it's your best one so far. We got one more. We'll see how that one turns out. But if you want to come on, talk to us, we're more than open to it. We'll extend the olive branch, as some would say. And hey, you're more than welcome to join. Talk your documentaries. Talk Paranormal State. Talk some of your personal experiences. We're more than happy. I don't think either of us hate you. We just maybe have some questions about Sir No Face. But we'd love to have you join us. I think that's our review for A Blood Red Sky. It was fun finally getting to see it because the beginning of Sir No Face really talks about it a lot. And even the beginning of Two Face the Gray, you hear about A Blood Red Sky. So I'm glad we finally now know what A Blood Red Sky is, especially because we are both on the same page right now. It's what we would suppose be his best film he's made. We do have one more, 74 minutes. So we will be back shortly to tell you guys about that one. We'll see. And then after we're done with that, we're going to do our list, ranking worst to best Chad Kalick films and telling you our thoughts and why Phantom Rider is the worst and why Blood Red Sky. I was like, which one did we just watch? Blood Red Sky is the best. And where the other ones fall in between. I mean, American Ghost Hunter might be the last. We'll have to do some talking and discussion on that one. It's between
Mhm.
Phantom Rider. I think those two got our lowest rankings.
I mean, for me, I think it's American Ghost Hunter is like the worst for me.
I mean, I can see that, especially because it made you sick. So, like, I totally understand that 100%. For me, Phantom Rider would be just because it felt supplemental. I think perhaps at least the last half of it was better made. But the beginning, I was like, I don't know. They're close. They're close for me. They're both like battling it out, and then Sir No Face and Two Face are like pretty even for me. And then this one's above it. That's our that's our review, and then at some point in the future we'll come back and give you a complete breakdown on the Sir No Face trilogy. But that's going to take a lot more work, so it's not going to be right away when we finish Chad's films or even the list. We want to give us some time to kind of like let our minds breathe and maybe
Yeah.
take in some other media first before we come back. But yeah, if you guys want to come back, see some more Cools reviews, we have been on a 6-film binger of Chad Kalick's documentaries, but we have a bunch of other documentaries or some other paranormal stuff, including Project Blue Book, which we hope to be getting back into here shortly. Click that link to your left for more about what we're doing here at Cool's Paranormal, including Sam's weekly abductions episodes, or I do some fossil frenzies and book reviews. And we'll probably be doing another Adam State video here shortly. Click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a
Subscribe.
subscribe.
Switch that notification button. Press last time.
And let us know, what did you think of A Blood Red Sky? Best Chad film? And also, would you stay there overnight?